Voters back abortion rights, but some foes won't relent. Is the commitment to democracy in question? Associated Press. The statewide battles over abortion rights since the U.S. Supreme Court overturned a constitutional right to abortion have exposed another fault line: the commitment to democracy. As voters in state after state affirm their support for abortion rights, opponents are acting with escalating defiance toward the democratic processes and institutions they perceive as aligned against their cause. Certain Republican elected officials and anti-abortion activists around the country have responded to Olo. Below are your comments. This may be one of the reasons that the Founding Fathers raised the question of the value of a separation of church and state. We now see that religious extremists will willingly discard democracy in pursuit of their desire to impose their beliefs on the rest of us. Believe what you like, but don't. It has nothing to do with commitment to democracy. These people really believe they are on a mission from God to save babies. They don't understand, nor do they care about the popular vote. They represent less than 1/3 of Republicans, but they also have strong backing and bring money to the party. So, voters of Ohio have to use the power of their vote to fight against state Republican elected officials who are not recognizing their position on this issue. The best way to do that is to use your majority to elect a Democratic governor who can use his or her veto power to counter the Republican mob. It is not only democracy that was threatened by Trump and 95% of the Republican Party, it is also our Constitution. Everything we once were so proud of in our country that made the rest of humanity jealous is gone. I don't know what or if we as a nation can ever recover and once again be the great. Democracy is in deep trouble. It is bad enough politicians claim they are voting what their voting base wants without really caring whether it is or not, but to blatantly take the will of the people, to spit in their face and say, "No, we will do what we want," is not democracy and will be the beginning. Next news. Manchin exit deals blow to Senate compromise. The Hill. Joe Manchin's DW.VA planned exit from the Senate is delivering a blow to the eroding dealmaking sector of the upper chamber, as compromise becomes devalued and partisanship wins out at the ballot box. The West Virginia centrist has played among the most prominent roles in numerous bipartisan legislative efforts, including President Biden's signature infrastructure. Below are your comments. What deal-making sector? This country does not even have a working budget thanks to the hostage-taking Republican House. Manchin was Dino and made few deals favoring the Democrats. His recent vote with the Republicans in the student loan resolution shows how he will be the next year. Schumer should strip him now of his chairmanship. The two main parties continue to become more extreme. Whenever a member shows any possibility of compromise, they're branded a rhino or Dino. When in power, the Ds and Rs govern so far from the center that voters reject them. Then, the other party comes to power, tears up all the executive. I welcome the polarization. I vote Republican because I expect Republicans to act like Republicans. I'm sure Dems feel the same way. Fetterman may have been impaired, but he had a D next to his name and Dems voted for him. So now it's about one side or the other winning elections, not cutting D. We will remember Manchin as a dino who hurt the party as much as he could. This is the final straw. Next news. Democratic-led cities pay for migrants' tickets to other places as resources dwindle. Associated Press. As weary migrants arrive in Denver on buses from the U.S.-Mexico border city of El Paso, Texas, SEALs offer them two options: temporary shelter or a bus ticket out. Nearly half of the 27,000 migrants who arrived in Denver since November 2022 have chosen the bus, and or train tickets to other cities in the U.S., city data shows. In New York and Illinois, taxpayer dollars also are being spent on tickets, creating a shuffle of migrants in the interior U.S. who need shelter, food and medical. Below are your comments. Illegal border crossings topped 2 million during the government's fiscal year that ended Sept. 30, the second highest number on record. Unsustainable. I thought sovereignty required borders. This is a sad situation. The transfer of illegal immigrants has shown the cities and people in northern states and Washington, D.C. that illegal immigration is a major problem on the southern border states and can't be ignored. For too long most of the U.S. did not have to deal with this, now they're seeing. Democratic-led cities pay for migrants' tickets to other places as resources dwindle. That would be less offensive if those tickets were to where they come from outside the U.S., and not to another city within the U.S. Next news. Exclusive IMF chief says Biden-Xi engagement an important signal for world to cooperate. Reuters. San Francisco. Reuters. International Monetary Fund Managing Director Kristalina Georgieva said on Friday this week's meeting between U.S. President Joe Biden and Chinese President Xi Jinping is a badly needed signal that the world needs to cooperate more. It sends a signal to the rest of the world that we must find ways to cooperate on those challenges. Here no country on its own can succeed, Georgieva told Reuters in an interview on the sidelines of the Asia-Pacific Economic Cooperation (SU). Below are your comments. U.S. is having more and more trouble since trying to decouple with China, now seems to realize that it can't dominate the world without China's cooperation. Joe Biden has made our country weaker than it has ever been, and China, Russia and Iran are just lounging at Americans for allowing the Democrats, communists to install him into the White House. Americans will never let that happen again. Dressing up surrender as cooperation. How Republican Nixon, open door policy, going for you. The meeting was nothing more than a joke. Next news. Can a socialist ex-marine fill Joe Manchin's seat in West Virginia? The Guardian. Zach Shrewsbury faces an improbable task to replace the conservative Democrat in the face of a Republican onslaught, but he won't be put off. Below are your comments. That is why we hold elections. Anything is possible. WV has many good things. I always felt welcome. Nat gas is big. Nearby Winchester is a hub for engineering. Less people, less crowds. Go for it, Mr. Shrewsbury. Frisch is about to displace Boebert and Kaplan displace Santos in the House. Gallego is set to take down Sinema and Lake, and Kuntz is aiming at Hawley. Go Democracy. He's not wrong in his criticisms about bot politicians and the need to stand up to big corporatio. NS. But I'm not hearing any solutions. Add the socialist label and I'm reminded that worse ideas are not the solution to bad ideas. West Virginia is one of the states that need the most help. I wish the people that live there could see that. It's a beautiful state. It would be a win-win for both the state and the country if they could realize there's a better way of life, both economically and health-wise. Next news. In Africa, Trump saw huts. Biden sees opportunity to curb President Xi's growing influence. USA Today. President Joe Biden looks to Africa as an opportunity to curb China's influence in the world. Below are your comments. Developed countries see Africa as a wealth of raw materials. They will lend money knowing full well it cannot be repaid, then abscond with rights to raw material. The U.S. would do better to quietly develop a friendship based on trust rather than money. Look down on people. Criticizing the other people in this country is bad enough, but to look around the world and knock own people that are well known to suffer atrocities in their homeland. That's just an example. People including here at home try to live by their means. I'm sorry if we don't live. Biden is correct about the opportunities in Africa, because China is after those abundances of natural resources. Also Russia. And Islamic nations. We're trying to do now in Africa what we should have been there doing 70 years ago. It's ironic that Trump referring to those huts on the wealthy. Next news. Trump is returning to the U.S.-Mexico border as he lays out a set of hardline immigration proposals. Associated Press. Donald Trump will return to the U.S.-Mexico border for a visit Sunday as he promotes a hardline IG ration agenda that would be far more expansive than the policies he pursued during his first term as president. Trump is scheduled to deliver remarks in Edinburgh, Texas, after serving meals to National Guard soldiers, troopers and others who will be stationed at the border over Thanksgiving. Trump has been laying out immigration proposals that would mark a dramatic escalation of the approach. Below are your comments. People try to give Trump credit for low inflation, yet his only policy victory, massive tax breaks, was extremely inflationary by definition, as it overheated an economy which was already at the peak of the business cycle. Don the Con promised to build a wall. He only did 458 miles out of 2,000. Of it was repair or replacement, not new. Then they stole millions from the fund. He promised to make Mexico pay. Next news. Poll. Biden's standing hits new lows amid Israel-Hamas war. NBC News. Joe Biden's approval has declined to the lowest level of his presidency, according to the latest Nat. INL NBC News poll. Below are your comments. Only the fringe left thinks he's worth voting for. Average Americans aren't buying it. Most folks can see with their own eyes what's going on with day-to-day living and how much more exp. NSIVE it is compared to the Trump years. Inquiring minds want to know, just how far below absolute zero can the drive-bys take his poll numbers? Please, President Biden. For the sake of our country, please retire and let the younger generation takes over. It's time to pass the torch to someone else and enjoy time with your grandkids. You wouldn't want to take the big blame for being selfish and lose the next election. It is so scary just to. Biden is already at zero, but the MSM give him bonus points because they are told to by the globalist overlords. Next news. Father Time is undefeated, DeSantis hits Trump on age. Politico. This is not the same guy as the Trump in 2015 and 16, he said of his Republican primary foe. Below are your comments. His age is not the problem, it's the brain that is. There are lots of senior people out there who are smarter and more aware than this man, Trump. Then there are lots of smarter people out there who are younger and very ignorant of most of what is important. The Gov of FL should consider that BEF. I agree it's not the same Trump as 2015, 2016. This guy is much more dangerous today. I disagree with Desitin on everything, but on this I gotta go with him. Besides Don the Con's unqualified to ever hold any office anytime status, the dementing Orange Mbek eel has shown repeatedly he's lost on almost everything. Where he is, who he somehow defeated in the mistake of 2016, the square. It's not Trump's age I am worried about, it's his mental capacity or lack of. Next news. Donald Trump mocks Jimmy Carter's presidency day after Rosalind Carter enters hospice care. USA Today. Why? Former President Donald Trump mocked former President Jimmy Carter one day after it was confirmed RMER First Lady Rosalind Carter entered hospice care. Below are your comments. Fun fact: Jimmy Carter had a better GDP than Trump did pre-COVID. Carter GDP growth, 4.6%, Trump 2.5%. Actually, Carter was blamed by conservatives for everything they failed at. Carter was a much better president than Trump because he put the country first. Here you go, MAGA people. This is your stalwart, your hero. You people preach family values and your hero is a petulant man-child. You talk about how strong and tough Trump is. He's so tough that he's insulting an elderly man in hospice. Carter may not have been the best president, but he has more. The Carters have spent their lives giving back to the country and its citizens. Next news. Newsom TV ad hits DeSantis on abortion as Fox debate looms. Politico. California's Democratic governor is airing a new ad in Florida and Washington criticizing his Florid, a Republican nemesis over his state's 6-week abortion ban. Below are your comments. The ad should also mention that our Attorney General here in Florida is trying to invalidate the petition by Florida voters to get a referendum on A-flat rights. Ron and the Florida legislature are against letting the people they represent decide. What these Republicans don't seem to get is even religious people would not want abortion outlawed because they probably have a higher rate of unwanted pregnancy than those that are more educated. Despite the artificial lift from high heels, the diminutive, Ronbot 2,000 feet has been reduced in size. ND height, taken down a notch by Gavin Newsom. Hey, Gavin. You were great when I lived in San Francisco all those years ago. Next news. Illinois governor blasts Trump over Verman rhetoric. Politico. I don't know where it's going with Donald Trump, he said. Below are your comments. Because ill has its house in order, Pritzker has time to go around pointing fingers. No crime problem for him to address. The Trump campaign doubled down on fascist imagery as a response to criticism of using it. They said about the critics, and their sad, miserable existence will be crushed when President Trump returns to the White House. Fascism on display and the cult loves it. Trump is taking over the Republican Party. They will have to rename it Fascist Trump Party. If Trump somehow wins the presidency, we will get to see America die. Well, Pritzker is being interviewed by Psaki. Nothing but DNC talking points. All Pritzker is eyeing is the presidency. Biden, you better watch your back. Next news. Biden, Trump and whales? The GOP obsesses on blubbery sea mammals. Politico. Some Republicans say President Joe Biden's protections for endangered whales are raising gasoline prices. Others blame his offshore wind efforts for bleep whales. Below are your comments. Presidents have no control over gas prices and drilling is at record highs. ! What about oil spills, broken pipelines, train derailments? Sad, isn't it? Everyone knows Trump is going to prison for life, and everywhere Republicans prove they can't find an issue to run on. What will Democrats run on? Reproductive rights supported by 70% PF the people. Social Security is widely supported, and we know it's separate from the federal budget. We are currently producing more oil domestically than we ever have. U.S. is pumping 13.2 million barrels per day, more than during Trump admin. Next news. She's a former Republican from Virginia, and she could be New Jersey's first female senator. Politico. How a former Republican from Virginia became New Jersey's Democratic frontrunner for U.S. Below are your comments. Now she's using her perch to leverage the state's unique and increasingly condemned political boss system that all but elects candidates before voters have a say. That statement alone is why the good people of NJ must vote for Andy Kim. We, in NJ, have two choices. 1. A seasoned veteran politician, Andy Kim, or 2. The housewife of a mediocre governor, Tammy Murphy. I'll vote for Andy Kim, thank you very much. The woman is still a Republican at heart. If she is elected, she will turn her policies Republican. She's a Democrat in sheep's clothing. Beware, voters. She'll turn on you. Please subscribe to my channel. And if you like it, please thumbs up.